Now next on board we have the presentation by Pinkesh Kumar, a research scholar, Kanpur UP, and the topic is CSR as a strategic tool for sustainable growth, a comparative study of startups in India and Southeast Asia. Please join me in welcoming Pinkesh Kumar, sir.
मैं पिंकेश कुशवाहा, रिसर्च स्कॉलर, छत्रपति साहूजी महाराज विश्वविद्यालय कानपुर, and present I am working in GAIL India Limited as a chemical engineer. भारत देश की राजनीतिक, ऐतिहासिक, धार्मिक, खान सर, केसी सिन्हा जैसी पावन भूमि को नमस्कार, CIM के मैनेजमेंट को भी नमस्कार, क्योंकि हमने परसों ही पेपर दिया था, हमको प्रेजेंटेशन करने का मौका दिया। मेरा टॉपिक है कारपोरेट सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी एज ए स्ट्रेटेजिक टूल फॉर द सस्टेनेबल ग्रोथ, ए कंपैरेटिव स्टडी ऑफ स्टार्टअप इंडिया एंड साउथ एशिया। CSR is involved from the thalapic aid in imperative strategy, especially emerging economic. India and South Asia change in the complement principle socio-economic issue bearing poverty, inequality of the poor, public infrastructure, degradation of environment. India's Company Act is compulsory CSR spending. Some companies will speak to special governance responsibility. CSR is not a weapon of the corporate legality, but also building brand loyalty, innovative marketing issue. In my literature review, CSR CSR was dominated by the concept of the philanthropy and the charitable giving. Youth study today, CSR defines the central innovative stakeholder credibility, long-term development, developing economic infrastructure holds governance limit, social gap, which has trends to sharp the compared to those developed economic. It is the India that CSR relevant momentum through the Company Act 2013, which required expensive CSR eligible company. This is unique policy made by interest of the scholar. Study indicate this legal compliance has raised corporate responsibility, transparency, uniformity, and CSR reporting. Now, academic also want to compliance through regular does not necessary ensure substance social effort. ये हमारा मालपानी 2025 का है। अब आता है हमारा रिसर्च डिजाइन, थोड़ा पेज बढ़ा दिए। मटेरियल एंड मेथड, रिसर्च डिजाइन, research used mixed method, that is integrated qualitative and quantitative approach to overall perspective. CSR practice startup qualitative data was characterized by using by the like stakeholder involvement, CSR performance, quality data give conceptual information founder, startup selection criteria in South Asia. The sample was startup study was selected registered firm established between 2012 से 2020 10 साल के बीच का दिस एग्जिस्ट इंडिया साउथ एशिया एम्प्लॉय फेवर 250 एम्प्लॉय. It was required that companies must have seed fund include well known accelerate venture data collection. The period data collection was 4 months and 3 technical methods was structure questionnaire, semi-questionnaire, interview, and secondary data such as company side, annual CSR report, public filing and triangulation provide text to secondary data, CSR portal, regulatory database, business listing, reporting organizations such Cruise Startup India. Sampling size and demographic 60 startup, 30 from India and 30 from South Asia. Participant from industry spectrum, rank digital service, education to green technology and healthcare. Major startup of the between 10 to 150 employees, founder most 20 to 45 age group. The gender split around 65% male or 25% female. Static tools and analytic tool, qualitative survey data was proceeding using SPSS and statistics appears correlation regression model test association between sustainability performance qualitative data using Nebio recognition pattern and transcript batch applied agri survey interview and secondary data result. Result. These information indicate that startup India show the greater level of the CSR integration. Those South Asia, the specific 68% of the India startups show high level of the CSR engagement, but 52% startups of South Asia did same, shown in table 1. Discussion. Discussion. The finding indicates significant different level of CSR. Figure from figure 1, India startup 68% with CSR integration, while the South Asia 52. Table 2, CSR committed India startup perform better than the South Asia peers in the staff retention, customer trust, revenue development, access to impact investment. Table 3. Revolve the sectors such as clean energy, healthcare, achieve the highest alignment of the both region, result in natural social orientation. The study institute the implementation of CSR startup, particularly in the regulator sector such as India, resulted quantifiably advantage in the internal improvement of the external performance indicator. These findings have the significance policy implementation for the policy maker and institution supporting startup. Formal regulatory framework is to produce greater accountability and the operating incentive CSR. Conclusion. The study also gives the India and South Asia startup adopt and implement corporate social responsibility as a tool of the effective sustainable development. The result showed that the level of CSR integration of the India startup is usually highly, which may be explained such regulatory framework to Company Act consists of the Southeast Asia startup which have more diverse practice adopt in the national and cultural context. Both regions CSR aligning startup and superior performance indicators such as employee retention, customer confidence, revenue growth, and attraction of the investment sector. Clean energy and the healthcare startup are both top terms of the CSR alignment. They represent direct social and environment involvement. It provides the platform of the research of the environment, social and governance integration, longitudinal performance monitoring and cross-section benchmark of the future. And thank you.
Countries group like BRICS and other countries to do this comparison. Thank you very much from my side.
Thank you so much, sir. Third presentation of the session 3. We have presentation by Dr. Mahua Bardhan, Anand Mohan College, Kolkata, West Bengal. And the topic is vulnerability and adaptation to climate change and appraisal of Indian Sundarbans. Ma'am, one instruction for you.
Can you share the PPT from your side, please? We know that SDG 13 is all about the taking action against the climate change and to combat the climate change. And here I have tried to, as an academician, I have tried to present my paper in a way that all of you know about this World Heritage Site, that is Indian Sundarbans. And there is a threat of climate change. Most of the islands are getting submerged day by day, and it is one of the most important site as ecological and economical aspect also. So I want to present my paper based on that. So being from an academician background, this is my first presentation in a management institute. So I'm very thankful to CIMT for giving me these. The next slide. The next slide, please. Yes, this is my study area. You can see the location of the study area is Indian Sundarbans, and it comprises of 2 districts mainly in the south of West Bengal. and it is ecologically a very vulnerable area because the active delta formation is ongoing in this area in some islands, and out of 104 islands only 52 are inhabited, but and mainly the agriculture is the main livelihood in this area. Next slide. And the objective, next slide please. Next slide please. The objective of my study is to explore the climate changes in this area and its impact on the biodiversity. And we can see it's been done by two methods. One is the secondary data study. No, please stop. One is the secondary data study, and one is the ethnographic method that I have followed in a special island called Moushuni. And just it is situated on the Bay of Bengal at the very south of the Indian Sundarban, communicating with some people who are actually called the climatic refugee. Most of you have heard maybe or not this word, because they have lost either lost or losing due to this climate change, because in last 10 to 12 number of tropical cyclone has and the intensity of the cyclone have both emerged in this area and destroyed most of the islands and the coastal parts. So you know some of the famous cyclones like Sidr, Nargis, Bulbul, Ayla, Amphan, and recently in 2021 it was Yash. And as we know that these coastal areas are very vulnerable to the climate change. We search the collaboration of this CSR to help these people to combat this climate change, because they are the aboriginals of this area, and the human migration, the lot of labor migration occur in this area just because of this. I'm not getting the satellite images. These maps have been prepared that how these areas are attacked regularly by these cyclones and how uncertainty and vulnerability attracts these inhabitants. NGOs, they are working at night, but just for the temporary solutions, like they are giving some temporary alternative livelihood options, or just getting them skilled training for something to earn. But these are not enough for this area, as I have visited some of the islands, and they are in search of particular strategies so that they can combat this and they don't have to migrate in different states. And these areas are mostly avoid of any man or male population, though there are in census there are male population, but actually the villages are full of women who are in a very vulnerable stage, because they have to send their husbands to other states for alternate incomes, as the salt intrusion through these cyclones and these tidal march have totally destroyed the agricultural lands, and they are searching for other alternatives. So some of the findings I want to discuss, that this increasing surface temperature, sea level rise, inundation in different areas have increased the salinity and has totally devastated the, not totally, but gradually devastating the main livelihood option, that is the agriculture in this area. And this decreasing mangrove cover due to the deforestation and deterioration of the mangrove health due to this climate change needs immediate action, as the cyclones and other climatic events have made these people so vulnerable. They have turned to the climatic refugee. That means if one time they are staying at the place in the coastal area, but they know after a few years they have to shift either inward in the islands, or they have to shift in the mainland, or they have to totally pack up their household and shift somewhere else. So this uncertainty has made these people, they can't do anything properly. And I have studied in this Moushuni island as a field study, where I have experienced that from the data and the analysis that 16% land loss have been already experienced from 1970 to 2012. And if this is going on, the other, the inhabitants will be shelterless in a few years. And this needs immediate actions and mitigation strategies. And I want to focus where CSR can, collaborate with the academician like us, because CSR are working there, I know, but they are working with the NGOs, not with these individuals or academicians. Like we are doing researches, but we are not getting the funds to aware the people. And in NEP 2020, we have the opportunity for the internship for the college and university students. So if we got this type of funding or CSR projects, we can train the students of the college and universities to make a group who will aware these inhabitants of the people here, and also the alternative climate
Ma'am,
strategies we
could
can
you
develop.
please wind it up because we're running short of time and.
Yes. Just I'm just concluding that for the community development, for the mangrove reforestation program, for the huge data collecting and field survey, and to develop a village as a model for this climate combat program and different awareness program, we academicians definitely need the collaboration from the CSR. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am, for your study. This is a nice study which have discussed about the vulnerability and climate change adaptation in Sundarban region. Ma'am, how you have measured the vulnerability? Whether you have, you can also develop an index, like here you have presented a kind of descriptive study. You can also develop an index of climate vulnerability. Thank you.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. I just wanted to, can you please explain a bit on your ethnographic method that you have used in this region?
Mainly, sir, structured questionnaire and the focus group study, and also sometimes as a tourist I want to interact them, because if I ask them very clearly about their problems, they sometimes doubt us whether from where I am coming from. So I have to take some, sometimes I have to mix with them, and I mainly focused on group study. I do a self-help group study and different type of, the inhabitants from there somehow. They may be at a developed stage. Some people I contact with them and went to the villages to directly interact with the people, what are going on, what they have to they are experienced 10 years back or before ILA, what was their livelihood pattern, and now how they are coping with the problems after ILA, because ILA was in 2009 was a game changer. I mean, it's a life changer for them, because it for the first time in 2009 they experienced that how a severe cyclone can change their life and destroy their shelter, their life, their livelihood, their cattle, and totally turn them to climatic refugee. Probably from that time we are using these words in case of Sundarbans.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Priya, Jaiprakash University, Chhapra, Bihar, and the topic is Integrating CSR into ESG Frameworks, a case study of the State Bank of India's sustainable practices in Bihar.
First, how responsibly a company works in 3 areas: protecting the environment, supporting people and communities, and following ethical rules of governance. Unlike CSR, which is often project-based, ESG is about long-term sustainability and accountability. The State Bank of India, India's largest public sector bank, has been a pioneer in CSR since 1973. Over the years, it has spent hundreds of crores on projects that improve lives across the country. In recent years, SBI has also aligned its CSR work with ESG goals. This means that activities like tree plantation, skill training, and financial literacy are not just charity, but part of a measurable framework that shows real impact. In Bihar, one of India's most rural and developing states, SBI CSR and ESG efforts are especially important. Projects in education, healthcare, environment, and women empowerment have touched thousands of lives. This case study looks at how SBI integrates CSR into ESG in Bihar, showing how responsible banking can lead to sustainable growth and inclusive development. In India, so in financial year 24-25, Indian companies together spent rupees 26,000 crores on CSR, where SBI alone spent rupees 610.77 crore that year. CSR projects in India focuses, then the law turned CSR from optional charity into structured responsibility. It also made India a global leader in CSR regulations. So key factor areas focus here is about education, that is by providing scholarships and skill centers, healthcare like mobile vans and camps, environment like tree plantation, clean energy, women empowerment, self-help groups, financial inclusion, Jan Dhan accounts. So SBI has more than 22,000 branches and reaches every corner of India. This makes its CSR impact very wide. For example, in financial year 24-25, SBI supported over 100 skill centers nationwide, planted over 6 lakh trees, and funded hundreds of health camps. These numbers show scale and seriousness. So my objectives here is to analyze how SBI integrates its CSR activities within the broader, of ESG, and to evaluate trends and patterns in SBI CSR expenditure during the study period with a specific focus on Bihar, and to assess the impact of SBI CSR programs on key sectors such as education, healthcare, rural development, livelihood enhancement in Bihar. So literature review, Verma and Srivastav 2021 studied at Indian banks and found that integrating CSR with ESG improved trust, reputations, and long-term performance. They emphasized that public sector banks should strengthen environmental reporting, digital transparency, and outcome-based assessments. And Mishra 22 found that SBI CSR program in rural areas significantly improved education, infrastructure, and health awareness programs. So SBI's ESG commitment, CSR is the activity, ESG is the framework. SBI has aligned its CSR with ESG. SBI created an ESG and climate finance unit. It raised green bonds worth rupees $1 billion to fund renewable energy. It reports ESG performance annually. It has targets to reduce carbon footprints across branches. Governance is also strong. SBI follows transparency, ethics, and compliance with global standards. So, as far as Bihar specifically, education skill centers in Patna, Gaya, and Nalanda, there are 1,200 youth trained between 21 to 25, and healthcare like mobile vans and free camps, 15,000 villagers treated free between 21 to 25. Environment, 50,000 samplings planted in Bihar between 21 to 25. Solar lamps distributed to hundreds of households. Financial like Jan Dhan accounts were opened. Farmers now receive subsidy directly, and women's like dozens of self-help groups, were supported. Women started handicraft business, and tree plantation in CSR. But ESG becomes an environmental metric. Skill training is CSR, but ESG, it becomes a social metric. And financial literacy is CSR, but ESG, it becomes a governance metric. So this is what, and this is the presentation through pie chart. In education sector, it is 30%, healthcare 25%, environment 20%, women empowerment 15%, and financial inclusion 10%. What SBI branches have done the work, and then there is a steady growth from 450 crores in 2021 to 610 crores in 2025. This is the bar chart representing, and then this is the line chart of skill training among the youths. That is 500 beneficiaries were in 2021, and now in 2025 1,200 it has increased, and healthcare camps from 5,000 villagers to 15,000 villagers, and tree plantation from 10,000 to 50,000 plantations has been done. Then there are always the challenges. Yes, Bihar's rural infrastructure is weak, and this is one of the challenges for SBI in doing these works. And measuring ESG impact is complex. measuring it's because it is of qualitative nature, so it's difficult to measure, and awareness among villagers is low. But yes, opportunities are bigger than challenges because digital banking can reach remote villages as well. Green financing can support renewable energy, and partnership with NGOs can make projects stronger. So my findings is that scale of commitment, yes, SBI CSR spend crossed 600 crores nationwide, and education and skills also we have seen that 1200 youths were trained, and healthcare we have seen that 15,000 villagers were treated through mobile vans and free camps, and environment also we have seen that 50,000 saplings plants were planted, and financial inclusion like Jan Dhan Yojana and women empowerment like self-help groups were supported with loans and training, and social literacy governance programs through governance making outcomes traceable and reportable. Community relevance like Bihar rural context benefits strongly from CSR in basic services. ESG framing adds accountability and long-term focus. So limitations are data granularity. Some figures are aggregate, district level breakdown may be limited. Attribution outcomes can be influenced by multiple programs, and long-term tracking environmental and social benefits need multi-year monitoring to confirm sustained impact. So suggestion is that SBI should increase CSR projects in Bihar, especially in rural and backward areas where people need more support, and more focus should be given to long-term projects such as skill training, education and livelihood programs, and SBI should improve its CSR reporting so that data for each state, especially Bihar, becomes easy to find and understand. Impact of CSR should be measured properly, not just by counting how many people benefited, but by checking whether their life has improved. SBI should include more environmental projects such as tree plantation, waste management and clean energy to strengthen the E of ESG, and better community participation should be encouraged so that projects meet the real needs of people in Bihar, and SBI Foundation should work closely with local NGOs, colleges, governments, bodies in Bihar for better implementation of CSR programs. More digital transparency is needed, such as online dashboards showing CSR progress at district level. Regular training for CSR staff should be provided to improve planning, monitoring, evaluation of CSR and ESG activities. And SBI should adopt outcome-based evaluation, which means checking how projects have changed education level, health conditions or incomes in Bihar. So coming to the conclusion, to conclude, CSR is the heart and ESG is the framework. Together, they create sustainable impact. SBI's work in Bihar shows how responsible banking can improve education, healthcare, environment, and inclusion. This model can be used in other regions too to make growth more inclusive and sustainable. CSR builds trust with communities, and ESG builds trust with investors. Together, they make banking truly responsible. So these are the references I have gone through. The reports of SBI time to time, and then thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Any question from audience?
Yes, sir. Yes. Hi, Sohini, is my voice audible?
Yes.
Actually, your presentation, your paper, maybe your email address or anything.
Okay. I will share it. My phone number, you can contact through phone number also, 9155673740.
91 what?
I can 9155
Yes.
673740 or sohini27priya@gmail.com. sohini27priya@gmail.com.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a good presentation. It's a really good presentation. I have one doubt and one suggestion. So while you start a presentation, it will be really good to distinguish that banks are not under the Companies Act, and so they are not eligible to do mandatory CSR. So it's a case within India for voluntary CSR. So make that case very good. So it will strengthen your paper more.
Okay, sir. Thank you for your suggestions.
Yeah, and the second thing, when you talk about ESG and CSR, like aligning them, it's a good idea, and it's a really like the same dimension of one coin or kind of thing. Make sure that most of when you say this, ESG is also a thing that goes because SBI is also very much criticized for their brown and red investing in Australia particularly. So you have to see, okay, when you say only the good things, it seems like a kind of a greenwashing. So if your paper is balanced, taking all these things in account, it can be a really good case studies. Because it's okay, only good things. It's like Stavan of SBI. So it should not be the case. So try to make the balance, like, okay, there is a risk also involved in these things. So otherwise, the presentation was good. These only two suggestion to make a paper stronger.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Okay, I'll keep this in mind.
Sure.
Thank you. Satyendra Pratap Singh, Alliance University, Bangalore. And the topic is integrating strategic CSR, stakeholder collaboration, and circular economy practices, governance pathways to sustainability outcomes.
CSR, stakeholders collaboration, and circular economy practices, governance pathways to sustainability outcomes. I am Gopala B., Research Scholar, Alliance University, Bengaluru, along with my co-author, Dr. Satyendra Pratap Singh. Let's move to the introduction. Over the last decade, the CSR has shifted from the charity-led activities to the strategic function that shapes the competitiveness as well as the social value. The companies now use CSR to address the climate action, resource efficiency, and community issues in the ways that strengthen their business. But this aligns well with the UN SDGs and triple bottom line also. But despite all this progress, many companies still treat CSR symbolically. Governance systems still remain disconnected, collaborations are uneven, and circular economy efforts often look good only on paper but lack of real impact. So that the gaps motivated me to do this research. Let's move to the objectives of my study. The first one is to understand how the CSR is operationalized inside the management structure, and the second one is to examine the role of stakeholders collaborations in driving the circular results, and the third one is to evaluate how these integrated practices influence the sustainability performance. Let's move to the literature review. The literature review shows that CSR has evolved into the strategic priority, but its implementation remains still uneven. Firms that actively engage the stakeholders tend to achieve the better co-efficiency as well as innovation, yet many collaborations break down because of the resources imbalances or sometimes weak governance support also. Across all these work, we see the three major gaps. The first one, weak governance integration, consistent stakeholders collaboration routines, and poor linking of CSR claims with the measurable outcomes. Let's move to the methodology. Now, moving to the methodology, I used the mixed method design because to understand the CSR governance circularity requires both the numbers as well as internal organizational process behind them. For data collection, I worked in the two parts: the qualitative data, which I conducted 18 semi-structured interviews with the CSR, sustainability, and governance managers. For the quantitative or a secondary data, I collected from the sustainability reports, including the GRI disclosures, annual reports, CSR fillings, CDP data, ESG documents. Actually, these provided numerical indicators such as the carbon targets, renewable energy adoption, and so on. For data analysis, I used both qualitative as well as quantitative tools. For the interviews, transcripts were coded using the NVO, where I developed the thematic coding framework. On the quantitative side, I created the circular economy performance score using the 0 to 3 scale to assess the carbon reduction, renewable energy use, resource efficiency, and recycling. Also, I built the score for the governance quality as well as collaboration integrity. Let's move to the data analysis. The table 1 shows that firm level circular economy and the sustainability indicators, which is used to compare the 12 companies. Here all the 12 companies I have listed, and their numbers I have been showed here. Minimum and maximum has been highlighted. The table 2 here provides the summary statistics across all the firms, and here table 3 highlights the differences between high performance and low performance companies. The companies like Unilever, Tesla, Nestle, Mahindra showed the strong governance and the active collaboration. Meanwhile, the firms like Adani, Coca-Cola, ITC struggled due to the weak governance, integration, and credibility issues. The chart 1 here, the head map visually shows that how the CEPS collaboration strengths and the sustainability outcomes clusters across the firms, and the chart 2 here displays that the relationship between the CEPS and the sustainability outcomes and the, how the positive trends is very clear here. The chart 3 here shows that CEPS distribution by firms, while the chart presents the frequency polygon of sustainability outcomes. Here both the charts reveals the strong polarization between the sustainability leaders as well as the laggards. The table 4 ranks the firms with the example Unilever, Tesla, Nestle leading, and Adani, Coca-Cola showing the weaker performances. Results. The findings shows that the CSR stakeholders collaboration and the governance influences on sustainability results, and the companies that treats TSR as a strategic function consistently outperforms these that use CSR only the symbolic purpose. So these are the some results what have been identified. Here in the table 6, I summarized the statistical models that dependent variables was sustainability outcomes, while the CEP collaboration integrity and the governance quality actioned as predictors. These are the correlation and regression model results have been listed here, and their interpretation also have been listed in the table. Together, these variables explained roughly in 79% variation in the sustainability outcomes, which is strongly models the fit. In the table 5, the presents that regression models implication are straightforward. The first one is governance structured converts the CSR goals into the operations actions, and the second one is the strong collaboration enhances the innovation as well as legitimacy, and third one is circular economy direct strengthen the sustainable outcomes. So here I have listed the implications which are the evident in my study. I have listed here. The future research directions. Looking ahead, future research can explore which the board level incentives, leadership structures, and regulatory mechanism which is best for the sustainable governance. It would also be useful to study the technologies that helps firms to decouple the growth from the resources they can use. The longitudinal and cross-regional studies can also reveal why some companies remain consistent sustainability leaders while others lag. The conclusion. To conclude, firms achieve stronger sustainability outcomes when the CSR is strategic, governance is integrated, and collaboration is genuine. The symbolic CSR may provide the reputational benefits temporarily, but it doesn't translate into the long-term sustainability success. The real impact comes from the systematic integration across the strategic as well as governance and the partnership. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Sir, any question?
Thank you for your presentation. You have estimated 3 regression models, right?
Yes, sir.
So, how many data points you have considered for this regression model?
Sir, I have considered the as a one dependent variable and
No,
4
I'm
independent
talking
variables.
about data point. How many
Sorry,
observations, how many forms you have considered for this model?
12 companies I have considered, sir.
It is suggested to increase the number of companies because it affects the degrees of freedom in the model. Any question?
Yes, sir. I will work on it, sir. Currently, I have considered only 12 companies because I have chosen the mixed method research, which involves interviews as well as a detailed quantitative scoring. So, to get the to maintain the balance between compatibility and in-depth analysis, so I have limited it. But in future, I will definitely extend it,
Okay.
sir.
Okay, thank you. Any question from audience? Thank you.
What a powerful way to conclude our paper presentations for day 1. A big round of applause for all the contributors and the chairs. I would also like to thank Professor Vinay Kumar Jha, Assistant Professor, Jindal School of Business, OP, Jindal Global University, for his inspiring presence, time and dedication. May I now request Professor Nitish Nigam, sir, to present a memento to Professor Vinay Kumar Jha as a token of appreciation from CIMP. Tea break करना है announce. ठीक है. 6 of which will also give a chance for networking. This will take place right here in the CIMP auditorium lobby. Everyone enjoy the break, and please everyone be back in the auditorium in 15 minutes break for the cultural program ahead.